Do 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 do. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It is day 11, episode 12. I should have just stuck at 40 episodes, so I won't have to get confused now. But day 11 of 40 days of 4VKM, episode 12, because we gave you 2 yesterday. That short one with the little PSA. With John Oliver, that little creeper. So, hope you guys enjoyed that and the Gridiron Gang. And we got a good one today. We are talking about episode 12. It's called the Ruthless Aggression in the Digital Thunderdome. Now, what's that? We have Ruthless, right? So, the video starts off. This came out on 9/26/2020. And it was smack dab right scheduled and just came out just in time for as Trump was announcing Amy Coney Barrett as the replacement for Ruth Bader Ginsburg, right? So, it hadn't been official yet at this point, but let's be honest with you. We knew. We knew who it was going to be. Anons knew at least, because all you had to do was go back to drop 132. So ACB, Amy Coney Barrett. If you go look at the bottom of that draft, it says confirmed, right? So ACB, confirmed, drop 132. We knew it was going to happen. And just another reminder why there's a lot more to that Q stuff than, say, what Alex Jones is saying about, it's just something that wasn't really real, right? Well, there's a lot of stuff that happened, and that's one of the probably the most definitive proofs that there was right there, unless you just want to say it was a coincidence. So anyway, we start the video off. Elton John's playing in the background, right? This was like an alley-oop that they gave me, right? They gave me a softball. Bam. So Trump's walking off the stage of a rally, and I remember that rally. And if you guys remember, there was people in the crowd that were like trying to tell him, Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, right? And he never acknowledged it. He just kept plowing through. I'm sure he kind of heard it. And let's face it, I'm sure he already knew. But then he walks off the stage and he's walking towards Air Force One. And there's a reporter that's like, President Trump, did you hear about Ruth Bader Ginsburg? She passed away. And he goes, what? She died? She just died? And he says some very nice words about it. But in the background, you have Elton John's Tiny Dancer playing, right? Very strange sight, very interesting choice of words or songs to be playing during this, this moment right here. And it just seemed perfect for a 4VKM. So I rolled with it. We said, we're going to use this song for this episode, right? And this episode, again, we were confident it was going to be ACB. So it's all about ACB for the most part for the beginning, right? So talk about kind of when in the song where it says, Jesus freaks in the streets, right? We're showing ACB. We're showing all the pro-life movement that's going on right there that everybody knows is going to be associated with her, right? And what a stark contrast when you really think about it, going from Ruth Bader Ginsburg to ACB. It really triggered a lot of people. And when you think about the timing of it also, don't forget, they had Merrick Garland that they wanted to get in like a year before Obama left office. And Mitch McConnell, Cocaine Mitch as they call him, he didn't allow it to happen. And to his credit, it's probably one of the best things he ever did, right? So he held the seat open until Trump got in. And then Trump went with Gorsuch, right? So he got Gorsuch. Then he got Kavanaugh, which that was a shit show. But he got Kavanaugh. And then he got ACB like a month before the election, right? So this was 9/26 that the episode came out. That was the day she got confirmed. So, or not confirmed by the Senate, but announced by Trump that she was going to be the pick. So we had the video ready for that announcement, and thank God it ended up being her, because I would have looked like an idiot with that video dropping if it wasn't her. But again, we knew. Drop 132. So we show you a little bit about ACB and Haiti. And when you hear the phrase Haiti, I think the first thing you think of is the Clintons, right? I think the first thing you think of is the Clinton Foundation. And, we show Bill there with, what's his name? Sean Penn, right? So Sean Penn, that creep, he's out there in Haiti with the Clinton Foundation. And, show you the clip of Fox News. Remember they put it on there? Clinton Foundation, crimes against children, I think it was. It was crimes against children, crimes against humanity, in a big red circle. You see it in the video there. So, what's going on in Haiti? You see later on, Kanye West. This is when Kanye is on his MAGA shit. You remember that? When he's wearing the red hat and he's all about, he's saying he's going to run in 2024. That's not happening. But he was giving Trump his respect during this period of time. He makes a trip out to Haiti, right? And he's talking to the people out there, and he's talking about, hey, the revolution started in Haiti, right? So what was Kanye doing out there in Haiti? Maybe one day we will find out. But we like to talk about wrestling, right? I haven't brought any wrestling up yet. And the title is Ruthless Aggression, right? Ruthless because we're less Ruth because she passed away, right? R.I.P. RGB. We don't wish that upon anybody, right? So we're a little bit ruthless, right? So when I think about ruthless, I think about our boy John Cena, or Juan Cena as they like to call him, right? So John Cena, interesting thing about him that a lot of people don't know, his first match in WWE, it was like a dark show. It wasn't when he was actually on television yet, but it was actually on 10-10-2000, right? So it was on 10-10-0-0, right? 10-10 wins, right? So you get a little 10-10 wins there. He comes out and he accepts an open challenge from the American hero, Kurt Angle. And he comes out and Kurt Angle asks him, he says, young man, what is it that makes you think that you can compete with somebody like me? Paraphrasing, something along those lines. And John Cena goes, ruthless aggression. And he slaps Kurt Angle and takes him down, and they have a hell of a match, right? So the week before that segment, in 2002, Vince McMahon kind of ushered in the ruthless aggression era of wrestling, right? So he brings all the wrestlers out to the ring, and he basically challenges everybody. He says, which one of you have ruthless aggression, right? And this era brought amongst some really huge stars in WWE. Randy Orton came out of this ruthless aggression. Brock Lesnar came out of it. Batista came out of it. And, of course, John Cena, who is the standout and now one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. So we fast forward a little bit, right? We show John Cena saying he has ruthless aggression, right? And then we fast forward to 2020, WrestleMania 36. Now, remember, I talked about this the other day. WrestleMania 36, that was the event with no fans, right? So it was a pretty, tough show, no fans. We've never really seen wrestling with no fans before. It was tough for the fans. It was tough for the competitors to try to, work without getting that crowd reaction and whatnot. But what they ended up doing out of this WrestleMania is they had two cinematic matches that I believe ended each night at WrestleMania. So the first night, which was on 4-5, the second night was on 4-6, but you get a little 4-5 there. You had John Cena versus the late, great Bray Wyatt. And this wasn't just a regular match. This was what was called a Firefly Funhouse match, right? So at the time, Bray Wyatt, he was like this horror character kind of, where, he would play like a Mr. Rogers character during the day, and he'd have this funhouse, right? Who else had a funhouse? Andy Kaufman. Andy's funhouse, right? So you kind of have like a homage to Andy Kaufman there a little bit. And, so Bray Wyatt, when he was in the funhouse, was this goofy type of, Mr. Rogers character, like I was saying. And then when the evil Bray Wyatt turned on, he became the Fiend. And the Fiend would wear a mask and look super scary and have a very scary entrance, and nobody could beat him except Goldberg in Saudi Arabia. So you have Bray Wyatt versus John Cena. Now, those two faced each other a couple years earlier at WrestleMania 30 in New Orleans, right? And John Cena actually ended up winning that match, right? So this is kind of the WrestleMania rematch between the two. And it's this cinematic thing that we've never seen before, the Firefly Funhouse match. So it's different. It's not like a match that takes place in the ring. There's a lot of supernatural stuff that happens, a lot of fantastical stuff that happens, right? You have them show some different scenes, right? They have this puppet that plays Vince McMahon, right? But he's got devil horns on him, right? And he's basically having this speech with John Cena about, it was basically the same speech that he gave back 20 years earlier, or 18 years earlier, talking about, do you have the ruthless aggression, right? And then in this version with the puppet, he's asking him, will you make the sacrifices necessary of mind, body, and soul in order to do what it takes to get to the top, right? So it's very interesting. You kind of goes back to that corporate America selling out. They're putting it right there. Hey, you want to get to the top of entertainment, of WWE, of Hollywood, whatever. They're painting this picture of what it looks like behind the scenes. Not saying that, John Cena sold his soul. I know a lot of people don't like the fact that he speaks Chinese, but, kind of got to learn it sometimes depending on what your role is, right? So you have John Cena going through that speech with Vince McMahon, and then he emerges in this Firefly Funhouse match with an NWO t-shirt on, right? So the NWO was a faction in WCW, New World Order, New World Order, and, it was Hollywood Hulk Hogan, who was the babyface, of wrestling throughout the 80s and the early 90s. He was the good guy, right? And then he sold out, brother. He sold out to the NWO. And, again, that represented the NWO, right? Selling out to the NWO, right? So they showed John Cena, doing this right here, right? Now, little current day note update. It was just yesterday, 2 days ago. Remember, I told you the other day that on 1/22, they're going to announce the cover superstar for the WWE 2K24 video game. So they're doing that. And John Cena, he likes to post a lot of pictures on Instagram with no captions. You never know what the point of the picture is. He just drops it with no caption generally, right? And in this instance, he drops a picture of the NWO shirt hanging up in a locker, like his locker room, right? So it's got people wondering, is he referring people back to that match? Is there maybe going to be a tribute to Bray Wyatt in this game, where that Firefly Funhouse match is something that's there? Maybe there's an NWO John Cena character. Who knows? We'll find out, right? But, so you have John Cena versus Bray Wyatt, Firefly Funhouse. One of the things that Bray Wyatt has is, and this is right before RBG goes down, is he has Paulie the parrot, or Paulie the something parrot, right? And he's keeping it in a box, and he opens it up to show everybody, and the parrot, the persevering parrot, that's what it was, Paulie the persevering parrot, right? And he opens the box up, and Paulie the persevering parrot had perished. She died because he didn't put enough holes in the box, right? So, and it's a puppet, right? So that no animals were harmed in the filming of this skit. But I almost felt like that was a metaphor for RBG, right? The persevering parrot, right? Now, if you think too about, the rumors and the speculation, right? How long was RBG kind of out of commission? Remember, people didn't see her for a while, hadn't heard from her for a while. If you remember Fox News, they actually put up the graphic in 2019 that said she had died, right? Remember that? That's in the video there. So, and then we're probably thinking, man, she's going to make it to the next president, right? So if Biden gets in, then, then she'll step down, she'll retire, and then he'll get to pick RBG's replacement, right? I think that's what a lot of people thought until August or September, wherever it was, right? And right before the election, and then the same people who were like, no, you got to let the people decide in an election the next Supreme Court judge. These people were like, nah, you know what? That's our responsibility. We're going to do it, and we're going to get ACB in there just in the nick of time, right? And they do. So that's kind of all of the RBG stuff. Now, we do show you some clips of the tarmac incident, right? Remember the tarmac incident with Loretta Lynch? Remember that meeting with Bubba Clinton? He was on the tarmac with Loretta Lynch. And what did the drops say? The drops kind of inferred that she was offered a potentially Supreme Court seat, potentially RBG's replacement, if Hillary had gotten in. Now, what do they need for Hillary to get in? They can't prosecute her with the emails and stuff like that, right? So shortly after this tarmac meeting, where they only talked about grandkids and his golf game, President Clinton's golf game, you have James Comey come out and say, not one reasonable prosecutor would take this case. Now, the left argues that that put Trump over the edge, right? Because he came out and made a statement on it and whatnot. But I don't think that had anything to do with it. At the end of the day, she was a failed, horrible candidate, right? And people close to her said she smelled like sulfur. So, I mean, who would want to elect that as president? All right, so talked about the tarmac. We talked about RBG. I jumped ahead, and I kind of already covered Kanye, what he was doing out there. And don't forget, it was Bill Clinton that popped in RBG there. And she did some sus stuff. I won't get into it, but you can see the clips in the video. So we got Kanye. Now we're going to go. We got this song playing. It's called No Mercy by Kit, I believe it is, right? And it was actually the theme song to a WWE pay-per-view called No Mercy. And I want to say that was in 2017. So I mentioned the other day about how my grandmother had passed away the day that I dropped the video about the plane crash and the Ultimate Warrior and all that stuff, right? And I told this story on X on 11/22. Vincent Kennedy on Twitter, the other Vincent Kennedy, VK as people like to call him, right? He's popped up in a couple videos. I always forget to mention him, right? But obviously a big influence on the 4VKM series. A lot of people think that he puts the videos out, and I have to, when I see those comments, I jump in. No, it's not VK, it's me. It's VK and VKM inspired. That's where this comes from. There's two Vincent Kennedys, and that's where the name comes from, right? Vincent Kennedy this, Vincent Kennedy that, Vincent Kennedy McMahon. So you have, on that day, that night, right, 7/17, the night my grandmother passed away, I had tweeted it, like, oh, shit, my grandmother passed away. She was a big Trump supporter, keep her in your prayers, something along that line, right? And we have a great community, got a lot of love back from that, so thank you to everybody there. And then shortly after, you had President Trump, who was still on Twitter at this time. He retweeted an account by the name of Andrew, right? And no context. There was no words to this or anything. It was just a GIF. And the GIF was The Undertaker sitting on, right? And maybe there were words to it. I think the words were back from the dead or something like that, right? And the Undertaker retweeted it. Or not the Undertaker retweeted it, President Trump retweeted it, right? So everybody in the community is like, what the hell is this about? Why did he retweet that? What's he talking about right there, right? And our guy VK, God bless him, he retweets that. And he goes, interesting, because Drew just posted this today. And he retweeted a tweet that I had talking about the 4VKM video I dropped that day, which talked about the JFK Jr. plane crash that happened on 7/16, the day before was the anniversary of this, right? So I see all this, I'm like, man, that's pretty cool right there. You know, plausible deniability up the ass, but at the end of the day, I kind of felt like, you know, that was a nice little message there from President Trump, a way to kind of lift my spirits up, and I appreciate VK highlighting it and, you know, putting it out there to kind of give some clarity, because nobody knew why he retweeted this, right? It was totally random. And then what ends up happening a little bit afterwards, after I see it, and I'm, you know, all excited and everything, President Trump took the retweet down, and it was gone. Right? So I show you guys that exchange in the video. A very cool moment for me personally. And again, very appreciative. My most fondness VK moment and President Trump moment as well on Twitter. So I show you that. And I'm also showing you a guy. For the first time in these videos, I'm showing you a guy called Vincent Fusca. Now, I've talked about Vincent Fusca, right, because we have the video Conquer the Darkness, and that translates, I don't know how it translates, but translates to Vincent Fusca, or Vincent Fusca translates to Conquer the Darkness. So we show a rally in Pennsylvania, and who's got the front row, first seat in the front row behind President Trump? It's the Vincent Fusca character, right? And President Trump retweets or tweets out pictures of the rally, and you see him. Boom, Vincent Fusca right there, right? Now, we had already known who Vincent Fusca was at this point, and from what most can gather, it appears as there's multiple Vincent Fuscas, right? You have a tall one, a shorter one. Some say there's 3 of them. You know, there's the one that the media always finds, and they laugh and they say, people think this guy's JFK Jr., right? And it's the shorter guy, right? Well, if you do close-up face comparisons, that guy, that Vincent Fusca, looks like identical to John Denver, who also died in a plane crash. And his plane had the same color scheme as JFK Jr.'s plane, and the Air Force One that President Trump designed as well. So it's very interesting at the end of the day. But then you have the taller Vincent Fusca, who you see at a couple rallies at different points. And I believe that was the Vincent Fusca that was at this rally, photographed right over Trump's right shoulder, sitting in the front row, right? So you get a little Vincent Fusca action right there, which is fun. You know, I guess we'll find out one day about Vincent Fusca. So, what else? Ruthless Aggression in the digital Thunderdome, right? So it kind of closes out after all that. Vince McMahon, remember, there was a no fans allowed at WWE. And because of the pandemic, they were in the middle of it, right? But Vince didn't want cardboard cutouts in the crowd like some of the sports did. Now, he did it at WrestleMania 37. So, you know, they had 20,000 people in a 70,000 seat arena. So they had some cardboard cutouts over there. You know, the high stands went on. It did make it look full. As somebody that was there, it looked a lot better with the cardboard cutouts, but not a big cardboard cutout guy. So he creates the Thunderdome, the WWE Thunderdome, right? And I got to be in the Thunderdome one time, right? You would register online for the tickets, and then it was like an interactive experience. So you'd watch the show, Monday Night Raw, you'd have your webcam on, and then your face would be in the crowd, right? And, you know, I'm watching it one day, my brother's watching Raw, and I'm in the Thunderdome, and he sees me with Seth Rollins on the top turnbuckle. There I am in the Thunderdome. So I made my Thunderdome debut in WWE, which I was very happy about. But going back to the Thunderdome, there's a scene, and around the same time that Vince unveils the Thunderdome, you have Jim Jordan, interviewing, what's his name? Jason Whitlock, who just was trending recently because Stephen A. Smith came after him, right? So he was just recently in the news, Jason Whitlock. And Jason Whitlock's a guest for some sort of congressional hearing about censorship, right? And he uses the phrase, he's like, it's like being locked in a digital Thunderdome, right? And Jim Jordan asks, he goes, so, Mr. Whitlock, have you ever been in the digital Thunderdome? And he goes, I'm in there practically every day. And then we close out with Vince McMahon saying, you'll never see it coming, right? So what was he alluding to? They debuted the Thunderdome a week before SummerSlam, or a couple days before SummerSlam. And at that SummerSlam, Roman Reigns came back. And Roman Reigns was always a good guy up to this point. And he came back at that SummerSlam, and he basically turned to be a bad guy. He ends up joining Paul Heyman. So, you know, Heyman was a character, if you remember, from the book of Esther, right? He was one of the bad guys. So you have Heyman with Roman Reigns, who is now representing the Roman Empire, right? And a week later at Payback, which is another pay-per-view, we talked about it in the Gridiron Gang, but the week after, they did another show right away, and it was called Payback, and Roman Reigns won his Universal Championship at that show and began the historic reign that he's currently still in today, and he just surpassed 1,234 days, the fourth longest world championship reign in WWE history, and we'll see if he can break the records or get close to it or whatever the case be, but he's been on a tear ever since. So remember, Vince, you'll never see it coming. So, you know, we'll talk more about Bray Wyatt in the future. Again, RIP Bray Wyatt. We love Bray Wyatt. He was a huge part of 4VKM, and you'll see in future episodes. And he left us way too soon, earlier last year in 2023. So, you know, everything happens for a reason at the end of the day, and he left a amazing impact. He gave a ton of comms out through the Firefly Funhouse. He talked about reptilians. He talked about Freemasons, or he would show you Freemasonry symbols and stuff like that. So, and he was a QAnon guy. He did an interview that he basically confirmed that in there. So, again, RIP to Bray Wyatt. We love you, Bray Wyatt. And check out the episode, right? So it's Ruthless Aggression, because we lost Ruth in the digital Thunderdome. It's on Rumble. You can get the link below in the description. If you're on YouTube, take out the space after HTTPS, right? And then you can copy paste it into your browser. Don't forget to subscribe to the brand new 4VKM podcast channel, where we are launching on 2/21/2024. And go to 4VKM.com. Check out all the episodes, right? And as always, enjoy the show.